Hey, yo, I want to talk about all these Magic the Gathering changes and announcements that have recently been made and why I'm feeling so down about them, and kind of down about the game in general. But to start us off with, this statement isn't true. It's a sulky, petulant, childish response of mine, based not on any kind of logic or maturity, but pure emotion, gut response. I do not like the changes and announcements that have been made. But does that mean that I'm going to stop playing? Is this channel going to disappear? Probably not when I think about it. I imagine I'll keep playing, though in what form remains to be seen. But this kind of logical introspective is not a stage that I'm at yet, because currently I'm upset, and more so ground down. I feel like something I love and have been advocating for is going away, and the reason I feel that way is because something I love and have been advocating for is going away, and it's left me feeling like continuing to remain invested in this game just isn't worth it anymore. WotC don't care, so why should I? I want to take my ball and go home. And there's more than one reason I'm feeling this way. In fact, there's so many reasons, all intrinsically linked together and built atop each other, that I was hesitant to make this video. My feelings are complicated, and due to multiple factors. So I've done my best to compile a list. I'm going to talk about it here, but fair warning, it's kind of miserable. A lot of it I imagine you won't agree with, and for time I'm going to reference things like the Pinkerton scandal, on the assumption that you already know what I'm talking about or will understand what I mean through context. 13 reasons, unintentional reference, that explain why I'm feeling both salty and a bit sad about Magic the Gathering. And am I saying all of these things are factually, objectively bad for the game? Not necessarily. You're free to disagree because, like I say, even I think once I've attained some perspective, I'll see I'm probably wrong about a few of these issues at least. But again, this is not a list of mistakes or errors, but a list of things that have made me feel upset, regardless of whether that feeling makes logical sense or not. Oh, and honestly, I'm not sure a list does it justice. Really, I feel like these things should be displayed on a cone, with the things at the top being wide, vague and nebulous. They're not one specific thing that's upset me, just more a vibe or general direction of a series of decisions that have been made. And then, as we move down, my issues become more focused and narrow, where I can point at one particular thing and say, I don't like this. But a list is easier in 2D, so back to that, and there's not really any one thing on here that is worse than the rest. This list is kind of in order of least to most specific issue, not in least to most upsetting, because it's kind of all of these factors compounding together that's put me in a sulk. But it's not all bad news, and in fact there are two good things that have been announced that I'm really happy and excited about. So I thought I'd talk about one of those at the end of the video, meaning we don't finish on a down note, and the other one we discuss right now. MSRP. It's back. Manufacturer's suggested retail price, where WotC give an indication to the public of what a product is actually supposed to cost. Meaning, if you see something for sale at $100, and its MSRP is actually $50, you know you're paying a markup. WotC say they initially removed MSRP to help their retail partners, because that way if a single store decides to put its prices up, then the customer has no way of knowing how much an item should be, and so, I guess in theory, wouldn't complain about the price increase? But apparently, removing MSRP hasn't helped, because obviously not. And so during this video, the Foundations of Magic's Next Era from a panel at MagicCon Las Vegas, link in the description, they announced they were bringing MSRP back. Now of course a cynic would say, from a customer perspective, too little too late, the damage is done and the prices are already sky high. Because the notion WotC removed MSRP to help their retail partners is laughable, as it seems the only reason they did it was to obfuscate price hikes and shift attention to local game stores, so the customers would blame them for the rising costs and not WotC. But if we're not being cynical, then... Anyway, let's start at the nebulous end of my cone of anguish and one by one go through my misery list. And I'll try to breeze through these because for a lot of them I don't have much to say other than, well that sucks, I don't like it, and it makes me feel negatively about playing the game. For instance, things I don't like 1 and 2 are going digital and the use of AI, which it seems Hasbro, owners and corporate overlords to Wizards of the Coast, are all for. Meaning I fear it won't be long before we start to see it in Magic, if we haven't already. You can watch this video of mine if you're interested in why I'm not a fan of Arena, Magic's digital client, which I assume will become top priority if/when Hasbro have their way. And as for AI, it's bad for the environment, it's built atop stolen art from thousands of uncredited artists, and quite frankly, it's just a bit crap. Regardless of whether it's text or images, AI will never be capable of true creation and only ever able to output poor facsimiles of previous work. If this is what Hasbro want for Magic, I think the game will be worse for it. Next on the list, and still quite nebulous, according to this publication, The Toy Book, Hasbro have just sacked a bunch of people via organised changes to fuel growth, which is wild because according to Hasbro's own website where they posted their Hasbro reports third quarter 2024 financial results, In this section, they say that Magic the Gathering's revenue actually increased by 3%, and while Wizards of the Coast and Digital Gaming segments revenue decreased 5%, this was only due to expected declines after they made so much money last year due to the launch of Baldur's Gate 3. So if layoffs need to happen, it must be because WotC's other product, Dungeons & Dragons, is failing then, right? Well, D&D just launched their 2024 Player's Handbook, and according to many outlets, it's the fastest selling D&D product of all time. So surely these layoffs must be happening in other sectors of Hasbro then. Sounds like WotC are nailing it after all. Well, no. We know the WotC staff have been let go because at the very least they fired Dixon DeBow, who was WotC's associate influencer manager in charge of content creator relations, and it appears they've replaced him with no one. So is that going to be a job for AI? Or do WotC just not care about content creators anymore? I mean, in fairness, they've never contacted me. But content creators are usually just vocal members of their player base voicing community concerns. Are WotC not interested in what their players have to say? I guess I could understand why they wouldn't be after the backlash to last year's OGL scandal, Pinkerton scandal, and the Christmas firings which echo what's happening here. Why listen to feedback when growth is their sole concern and the only thing these pesky human beings are good for is as a commodity to be sacrificed in the name of quarterly profits? Moving on, I don't like how many sets we've gotten lately. Bloomburrow into Duskmourn into Foundations, all with their own multiple products for multiple formats. This rate of release has only just started and I'm already tired of it. I don't mind the frequency of additional products like Secret Lairs, standalone commander decks, or things like these dumb Assassin's Creed Beyond boosters, because they're not legal in all formats. So if you don't play the formats where they are legal, you don't have to engage with the cards. It's less cognitive load. But I'm finding that products coming out back to back to back that may contain cards that at the very least you need to learn mechanically, so have to engage with, is really draining my enthusiasm and burning me out. I mean, let's hope they don't announce anything silly like, I don't know, making Universes Beyond products legal in all formats, eh? Next on the list, and back to this video because at MagicCon Las Vegas, WotC announced that Universes Beyond products will now be legal in all formats. At 25:51, when talking about upcoming Universes Beyond sets, they say, in order to just simplify how these work in relativity to the rest of Magic, we are saying all these future Universes Beyond sets when they come out, they're going to be legal in every constructed format we offer. Now, why this next point is on my misery list, I'm not going to harp on about how they said they wouldn't do that, although to be clear, they did say they wouldn't do that. When Universes Beyond was first announced, they put out this statement to quell concerns, link in the description, and if we scroll to this section you'll see they say, Universes Beyond cards will not be standard legal. Cool, guess that was a lie then, because at 26:07 of the video they say, so we have been designing these sets with this goal in mind. This is not some sudden change that's going to upset any apple carts. Well, on behalf of my apple cart, I'll gladly inform you that it's pretty upset. I'm also not going to harp on about how the backlash to mechanically unique Secret Lair exclusive cards led to Universes Within, something I loved and praised, and how now they just don't bother with that anymore, which I hate. And so I can't imagine that any of these cards are going to get reskinned so as not to be so immersion breaking for people that actually care about the lore. And while this next point also makes my list, I'm not even going to talk about how sort of shit some of these Universes Beyonds are. If you remember, SpongeBob fighting Iron Man and Gandalf was the joke people made back when Walking Dead got announced, as a mocking worst case example of what might become of Magic. But I guess the joke's on us because here we are now. No, what I want to bring up is Standard. Unless I'm mistaken, in late 2021, Standard consisted of Zendikar Rising, Kaldheim, Strixhaven, D&D, Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow. 6 sets. In late 2022, it was Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow, Neon Dynasty, New Capenna, Dominaria United and Brothers War, again 6 sets. Then they increased the length of rotation by a year, so in late 2023 the sets in Standard were Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow, Neon Dynasty, New Capenna, Dominaria United, Brothers War, Phyrexia All Will Be One, March of the Machine Aftermath, Wilds of Eldraine and the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. 11 sets, Jesus Christ. That is a lot of cards to have to think about, and a long time for any problem pieces, Shieldred, to stick around. In late 2024, Standard will consist of Dominaria United, Brothers War, Phyrexia All Will Be One, March of the Machine Aftermath, Wilds of Eldraine, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, Murders at Karlov Manor, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, The Big Score, Bloomburrow, Duskmourn and Foundations. Okay, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that now, thanks to Universes Beyond, by late 2025, Standard will consist of Dominaria United, Brothers War, Phyrexia All Will Be One, March of the Machine, March of the Machine's Aftermath, Wilds of Eldraine, The Lost Caverns of Ixalan, Murders at Karlov Manor, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, The Big Score, Bloomburrow, Duskmourn, Foundations, Aether Drift, Dragonstorm, Final Fantasy, Age of Eternities, and potentially Spider-Man and an as of yet unannounced Universes Beyond set that I'm going to guess is Skyrim. Jesus wept. I do not believe for a second that a company who makes mistakes like Nadu are going to be able to create a balanced standard environment with the thousands of cards available in these sets. Look at the One Ring. They don't want to ban cards because that disincentivizes people from buying the sets that those cards are in. And that's what they care about, the money. I don't believe they care if all of these sets play well together or not, and they probably won't given the vast number of them. And I don't believe they care that more sets in Standard means more cards, which means more chances of something breaking. Shieldred. And it might not just be a single card, but a combo of 2 cards from sets 3 years apart. And will they care? Probably not, because I think all they care about is money. Now, in fairness, at 2619, the reason they gave for making Universes Beyond legal in all formats was because we know that Universes Beyond does an awesome job of bringing in new fans into Magic, which is a lot of the goal of doing it in the first place. And so when they get here, we would like to kind of ease them into our competitive settings. And so dumping someone who's a Lord of the Rings fan straight into competitive Modern was a bit of a stretch. So we would like to say smaller, constructed formats, Standard and Pioneer, where your deck that is, you know, built out of these cool cards that you just got of one of your favourite Universes Beyond IP has a reasonable chance of being competitive and ease them into Magic. And I say great idea, good point. Imagine if you're new and you open up a fancy card and fall in love with it. Of course you're going to want to play it in any format that you like. So I do applaud the notion that cards in a product aimed at beginners are legal in all formats, like these cards for instance, because new players won't understand if they can't play their new favourite cards in, say, Standard for example, so of course these cards are going to be legal in that format and every other. This is for bringing in new players, and I think it's worth remembering that's why it's legal in all formats, right? It does baffle me that he then goes on to say, for the enfranchised crowd like yourself, I think it's cool that we're going to take our foot off the gas with these straight to Modern sets. Lord of the Rings changed Modern a lot. The Horizon sets changed Modern a whole lot. It's just not feasible for us to keep trying to do that multiple times a year with Universes Beyond releases. We want to save that special ignition of change and power for Modern for the occasional Horizon set. Right, but Modern is a constructed format, so these Universes Beyond sets will be legal though. That's what you just announced. I guess you could mean that you're changing your design philosophy, but again, Nadu proves you're not great at considering all formats when you design a card. So, colour me unencouraged by this? Now, of course, a cynic would say that all the reasons to justify why Universes Beyond is legal in all formats is just bollocks to try and hide the fact that you want to force players into engaging with every single set, making them constantly buy new cards to remain competitive, thus maximising your profits. But if we're not being cynical, then... Next on my list, I don't like the rules change to combat announced in this post, link in the description. It's too much to explain here, probably needs its own video, and I know that many of you either thought that's already how the rule worked or feel it's more intuitive for new players. But I don't like it for 2 reasons. First, it nerfs a lot of defender-friendly combat tricks, which is going to encourage more aggressive gameplay, reward attack-focused decks, which in turn will speed up the game. But I thought the whole reason that battles got introduced, for instance, was because the game was already too fast and needed to be slowed down. If that's true, this rule change feels counter to that philosophy. And speaking of counters, the second reason I don't like the change is because to my mind, combat tricks are no longer in line with spell tricks. Having to cast a Giant Growth before you know where the damage is going, to me, feels like having to cast a counter before your opponent announces what spell they intend to cast. I understand that's just how it works in my brain, and this is the one that I expect most of you to disagree with. But I've been playing for a long time, I do play with a lot of new people, and once explained, I've never seen them struggle with this rule as it was. And this is a list of my opinions on how I feel about things, so it goes on. And the bottom 3 things on my list are all kind of connected, so I'm going to do them all at once. Because I'm talking about this frame from that MagicCon Las Vegas video. A look at 2025, and it is bleak. Up first is Aether Drift, but I'll lump Edge of Eternities into it because to me, both of these sets seem to just be more meme sets. Aether Drift is a racing set where all the characters are going to dress up like race car drivers. Just like how Murders at Karlov Manor was a murder mystery set where all the characters dressed up like detectives. Edge of Eternity is a sci-fi opera where all the characters are going to dress up like spacemen. Just like how Outlaws of Thunder Junction was a western set where all the characters dressed up like cowboys. I've talked many times in the past about why I don't like these meme sets that rely on cheap references rather than world building, but even the designers acknowledge the issue, like in this post, State of Design 2024, link in the description, where they said one of the lessons they learned from Thunder Junction was that the plane felt paper thin. Tell me, what's the point of learning a lesson if you're just going to keep repeating it? Also, if that Aetherspark prize for winning that race turns out to give a Planeswalker, I assume Nissa, back their spark, I will become furious that WotC are so disrespectful to their own lore and storytelling that they can't even be bothered to explore and make work the choices they made, like desparking their Planeswalkers. Despark them, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now respark them, whatever, it doesn't matter. The message is this game doesn't matter, who cares? Well, I'm starting not to. Next is Tarkir Dragonstorm, and this is a minor thing. But I'm concerned because during the announcement they said we worked really closely with cultural consultants, which is good in theory and I do encourage, but the last time they said that we got Thunder Junction with its dehumanizing narrative and implication that a land isn't worth living in till it's been colonialized. You can watch this video of mine if you want to hear more of my thoughts on that. But yeah, hearing them feel the need to explain how it's totally cool actually because they worked with cultural consultants again did ring alarm bells for me. Hearing a megacorporation drop the business equivalent of, no, I'm allowed to say it because I've got a black friend, just makes me raise an eyebrow. And to be clear, I'm not saying they shouldn't work with cultural consultants, I think that's good. I'm just saying a business is only ever motivated by capitalism, and any appearance of being socially progressive or culturally sensitive is a facade designed to make you feel comfortable with parting with your cash. Also, I'm not saying Dragonstorm is bad because it's woke, whatever that means. If you ask me, I think it should be more woke. Maybe after the Dragonstorm we can get a Dragon Rainbow. And lastly, the thing I'm most gutted about is the fact that half of next year's sets will be Universes Beyond. I am glad they pushed a set back to 2026 because I have complained about set overload several times in this video alone, but the fact the set they pushed back is the promised return to Lorwyn, yeah, that stings. I love Magic the Gathering. I love its worlds, its characters, and for the most part its lore. I cannot look at a year that consists as much of Final Fantasy, Spider-Man and what I'm guessing is Skyrim as it does Magic and not see holes where Magic the Gathering would have once been. Made worse in fact because at least 2 of those Magic sets just look like dress up again. Perhaps all 3 if Tarkir is about to get the Neon Dynasty treatment and be turned into steampunk or something, I don't know. This is rough. This is sad. Because there is no way I can look at this and not feel like something I love has gone away. It's all SpongeBob SquarePants now and it makes me think that, well, Magic is a dumb game, and I might stop playing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Come check me out on Patreon as well. I have early access to audio-only versions of these episodes, weekly opinion polls, a monthly behind-the-scenes blog, and you can get your name credited on screen at the end of the videos too. If you want to support me, you enjoy my videos, or you found some value in them, then like I say, come check me out on Patreon, link in the description below. I said we'd end on a high note with another thing that I'm happy and excited for, so here it is. Foundations, which was talked about in this video. The preview panel Magic the Gathering Foundations link in the description. And I think it looks good. There's play boosters, collector boosters, bundles and pre-release kits, just like any other set. They've made a point of including special guests, because as they said in the announcement, this is a real Magic set with all of the works. There's also going to be these Japan showcase cards too, which I think look amazing. I'm excited for the release. But Foundations is aimed at new players being brought into the game for the first time, so it's going to include a Jumpstart release, which I actually think is a fantastic way of introducing newcomers to the game. Also a beginner box which will contain everything 2 people need to get started. It has 10 dedicated Jumpstart packs specifically designed for this product so beginners can learn how to play, as well as essentials like game board playmats, how-to play guides and spin down life counters. And in my opinion, best of all, there's a starter collection. It has over 350 cards from across Magic's history, giving new players everything they need to get started building their own decks, including some essentials like Arcane Signet, Sol Ring and Command Tower. And of course, with the exact same reasoning that they gave for Universes Beyond, which as they said are also designed to bring new fans into Magic, and with the intent of simplifying how these cards work, all the cards found in every Foundation release will be 100% legal in every constructed format they offer. Right? Because Universes Beyond being legal in all formats wasn't about forcing existing players to engage with those sets for money, but because new players aren't smart enough to understand card legality in different formats, or are so selfish that if they can't play any non-legal or banned card that they like, then they'd rather just not play. And so we should cater to that attitude, right? And I think, great idea, good point. Imagine if you're new and you open up a fancy card and fall in love with it. Of course you're going to want to play it in any format you like, so I do applaud the notion that cards in a product aimed at beginners are legal in all formats, like these cards for instance, because new players won't understand if they can't play their new favourite card in, say, Standard for example. So of course these cards are going to be legal in that format and every other. This is for bringing in new players and I think it's worth remembering that's why it's legal in all formats, right? Thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you to everyone that supports me, like James Diamond, Eggboy the Particle that permeates all existence, and the rest of my patrons whose names are on screen now. I'd also like to thank the sponsor for this video, me on my Patreon page, where you can get your name credited on screen too. Check it out in the link in the description below. Hit the like button, leave a comment, install an ad block, and most importantly subscribe and share this video with a friend. I must admit, now that this is out of my system, I am feeling a bit more positive. And Foundations does look really good, I'm excited for it. Hit the notification bell and do all those things the algorithm loves. If you agree or disagree with any of my points, which I would fully understand if you do, or if you want to see me do a video on another, more positive subject, let me know and I will see you next time.